Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are, or whenever you are watching this live. We've been having a few hiccups with the StreamYard as usual. So I am going to go live today with Barry, and I met Barry in a networking event, I think a few years back, and then we met again a few months back as well. And then he invited me to his group. I thought it is very interesting. I've got to get him on the tips he was giving, because I suck at sales. Tips he was giving was unbelievably useful for me, the way I could relate to as well. So I thought, okay, I'll get Barry on my show and talk about how the sales is has to be done right. As small business owners, we've got few things, and we go by certain hang-ups we have about sales. So Barry has to come on my show. That was my intention, to be frank with them. And Barry, immediately when I asked him, he said yes. His bio is in the description. You can go and have a look. I am going to jump straight into the content, because I wanted most of the tips he could give on the show, so that we can all use. Sometimes you can be very greedy when you've got an expert, and he has got so much of information. You've got to have it all. So I am one of those people, greedy, and want the information so that I can use it in my business immediately. So I am going to bring Barry in. Before that, I've got a few housekeeping things. If you're on LinkedIn, I cannot see your comment. If you're on Facebook, you've got to let me know who you are before you ask any questions to Barry or me about the show. Number 3 is that if you're on YouTube, you've got to do the same, because many of the profiles are not public, and we cannot see when I use StreamYard to stream this live show. There seemed to be a bandwidth issue. Please bear up with us, and it will all work out in the end. Let's bring Barry in and ask his so that he can share his expertise. Hey, Barry, thank you very much for coming on my show. And thank you very much for the tech test we did a few hours late earlier as well.
Welcome. Yeah, you're very welcome. It's a pleasure. Thank you for the opportunity.
Yeah, Barry, tell us a little bit about yourself, and let's go straight in the subject after you've introduced yourself. And you've got quite a few years of experience in sales, and especially in the hospitality industry, I think.
That's very true. One or two years behind me, Sudha. Thanks very much for the introduction. Yes, my name is Barry Clark. 3 years ago, I set my own consultancy business up called the Needham Consultancy. Prior to that, as you mentioned a second ago, I'd spent 30 years in sales and leadership roles in the hospitality industry. Really from man and boy, from 15 years old, working more back of house, but then realizing very much I wanted to be out front. I wanted to be interacting with people. I'm I think a natural people person, as a lot of folks would describe themselves. And really throughout all of that time, I've been working both in the business to consumer sales environment, but also business to business sales environment. My career's taken me all across the UK. I've also spent periods of time working in France, in Spain, and in Portugal, in the leisure and in the hospitality hotel business, primarily at general manager level, then at executive level. And then, as I say, 3 years ago, took the plunge and set my own business up. Today, I work really in two spheres. My general practice work is working with primarily SMEs, with business owners, with businesses with small teams, helping them to grow their business, to win more sales, to achieve more profit from the business that they're processing through. I do work also with the SME sector in terms of management and leadership skills, self-management for micro and small businesses, and for those businesses that might have a team of 5, 6, 7 people, helping them with practical supervisory and management skills, but also that leadership and strategy area. My real niche still remains the hotel and hospitality industry, and some quite focused consulting and coaching, mentoring, and business strategy advice to hotel owners, operators, and investors.
So tell us about your I've got big problem. Thank you very much for that intro, but I do have a big problem. I think many of us who are in small businesses have got, we don't know where to charge, how to charge, and also talking about our services. Sometimes we feel that I'm getting straight into the subject, folks, here. So it is more of a challenge for me. I come from a tech background, and I can happily give my services away. But end of the day, we've got to pay the bills, we've got to eat, we've got to keep the roof over the head, and all of that. For that, we need to charge for our services. How differentiate when to give free? Because that has seemed to be one of the I don't know whether it is a norm, but people somehow want it free before they can come on board. I have got a big problem. I give. I don't. So I will let you give me, what should I be doing, right?
Okay. Do you sometimes feel as though you're giving too much away, Sudha? You find it difficult to then move into the conversation around being paid and writing invoices for the help and support that you're giving.
Oh yeah.
That doesn't surprise me at all. That you'll be pleased to hear you're not alone in that situation.
Thank you very much.
You're not alone in that situation by any means. So you can feel part of the family of people that struggle with the same pain. Now, the interesting thing is I didn't set out 3 years ago when I set up the business. I didn't set out to become a sales trainer. But what became apparent was that through networking, through having conversations with people, the common thread, the common thing that bound everyone together that I was talking to was that they were feeling exactly the same pains and stresses that you've just described. And I took a step back and I spent a bit of time analysing what I was hearing from people and what the common thread was. And I came to the conclusion, we all set up businesses of our own because we're really good at what we do. That's the fundamental thing that drives us to set our own businesses up. We're really good at what we do. And I think we all, and I'm going to be quite harsh here because I think we all naively walk into working for ourselves thinking, great, I can just go and do what I do, and people are going to flock to me and they're going to pay me lots and lots of money for my advice because I know that I'm good. And I felt exactly the same when I set up on my own. The reality is, doing what we do, albeit we do it really well, what I call doing the day job, really only equates to about 20% of what running your own business involves. And I very quickly, it took me about 3 months to realize that actually delivering for my clients, delivering my services was a tiny part of what I had to do. And actually the bulk of my work and my time was taken up with networking, with prospecting, with having to try and sell my products and services. And come to realize that really everybody that I speak to in the SME sector, although they may use different words, they're saying the same thing to me. They all want to win more sales. They know that they've got capacity in the business to do more of what they do really well, but they worry about how to do it. And the reality is most of us as SME business owners, we've had very little, or in most cases, absolutely no structured sales training in the past. Fortunate that through the corporate roles I had previously, business development and sales was a big part of what I did. So
Yeah.
I'm in the minority of having benefited from that development.
Mhm.
So funnily enough, people tell me they all want to win more sales. And then the next thing they tell me is they worry about being that market trader, Del Boy type, Arthur Daly type character, the really pushy, hard salesy salesperson. The really ironic thing is that when I'm meeting people on the networking circuit, when I'm going around to business events, I meet an awful lot of exactly that character. I mean, an awful lot of the Arthur Dalys, the pushy, the overbearing salespeople. And quite simply, it's because people just don't know any better. And those that work with me will know one of my stock in trade comments is, "You don't know what you don't know."
Yep.
And I became aware that a lot of people were asking me for advice and support in that area, and I would have been really foolish to ignore that. Hence why I
Yep.
focused on that and built my business around that. So the first thing that I would say, first tip number one that I share with people is, if you don't want to be that overbearing, pushy salesperson, stop trying to sell. Now, I
Mm.
know that's counterproductive. I want
Yeah.
to win more, so surely I have to sell. And the thing is that I'm gonna pull a little bit of psychology into this, and I'll qualify this up front. I am not a qualified psychologist, but I'm going to pull a little bit of psychology into this. We've all heard the phenomena of the conscious mind and the subconscious mind.
Yeah.
And the conscious mind is what we actively have to think about to do. And the
Yeah.
best example I can give is, remember back to when you were learning to drive a car. Now, for
Yeah.
me, that was 30 years ago. But if you think about it, when you were learning to drive a car, you really had to think about it. You had to concentrate, mirror, signal, maneuver, push the clutch pedal, move the gear stick, release the clutch. You had to think about it consciously.
Yeah.
Through time, when you passed your driving test, when you became a more competent and confident driver, these things just start happening by nature. You don't have to think about it.
Mm.
And that subconscious mind taking over, you do things subconsciously because it becomes habit, it becomes routine. Now,
Mm.
an important fact to remember here is that an anomaly of the human brain, the subconscious mind struggles to process a negative thought.
Yep.
I'm going to let that sink in. Subconscious mind really struggles to process a negative thought. Just think about that occasion when there's been a pan or a cupboard saucer sitting on your kitchen counter at home, and you're thinking subconsciously, "Oh, I mustn't knock that over." And guess
Yeah.
what happened? You knock it over. If I said to everybody just now, "Do not think about pink elephants," guess what? You're all thinking about a pink elephant now, because the
In
human
vivid
brain,
colors.
yeah, human brain can't process a negative thought. Now, let's take that back to that original concept of not being an overbearing, pushy salesperson.
Mm.
What your conscious mind hears is, "I need to be the pushy salesperson," because it can't process a negative. So
Yeah.
a large part of what I do is teaching people positive processes to control the subconscious mind, but also to take positive steps. So step number one, I always advise to people, is stop trying to sell. We've all been in that situation, haven't we? You go to a networking event and you see somebody new, somebody you've not met before. It's probably their first time along at the event.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to be nervous. They're going to be a bit uncomfortable. Really, none of us like walking into a room full of strangers. So they're going to feel a bit uncomfortable. And they're the person that comes up to you, thrusts a business card in your hand, and then starts talking all over you. "Oh, let me tell me about your business and what I do, and this is what we sell, and this is fantastic, and this is wonderful." And how do you react to that? I think we all have the
I
same
feel,
reaction.
get me out of here, please.
Precisely. None of us like that unwelcomed, unasked for approach. None of us like it, yet so many people do it. And the key thing is, it's not about. There's this conception of the elevator pitch, and it's something that I get quite irate about. Forget about the elevator pitch. It's the worst thing that you can be doing. It's all about building relationships and getting to know people. And when you get to know people, then you earn the permission to start moving the conversation onto business. and then you can start talking about the products and services. It's all about building those relationships, and you're not going to do that by being the very thing that most people don't want to do, which is that overbearing. Let me tell you all about my business. Whoa, I don't even know you. Hang on a minute. What's your name?
Yeah.
For starters?
Yeah, another thing which many people I hate networking events, and for me online is a lot better because it's one-to-one, and it is they are on guard because many of them don't know the tech, so they're on guard. Okay, I don't want to do, so their mind is occupied somewhere. What I find it really difficult is you make an eye contact and they take it as, okay, give me your sales pitch. That annoys me even further. You don't even have to ask anything. You're in one corner and the other person is in the other corner. You just make an eye contact and that's it. You're done for that whole meeting that they're talking about your ears out.
Okay. Well, let me share with you another little technique which will really help in that kind of situation.
Yeah.
Let me qualify this by saying I used to be the world's worst networker. I hated it. I mean, I am an introvert by nature. I'm one of these anomalies. I'm an extroverted introvert, but deep down,
I am the same.
Yeah. On the sofa, watching the TV, dog on my lap. That's my idea of heaven. So the idea of walking into a room full of strangers, hated it. And because I hated it and I was nervous, I was out of my comfort zone. I was a terrible networker. But when I started my own business, I realized that networking and building relationships was going to be absolutely key to the future success of my business. And the best lesson I was taught by anybody was when I go to a networking event, and let's put this to the test, Sudha, because you and I first met on the networking circuit.
Yeah.
When I go to a networking event, and particularly when I meet somebody new, first of all, I go with a couple of clear objectives in my mind. And my key objective whenever I go to an event is I want to speak to at least 2 people that I've never met before.
Yeah.
So now I will actively look for people that I don't know that I haven't met.
Yeah.
And the way we get to know them is by just having a conversation. And I quite purposefully do not talk about business. I don't talk about my company. Now, inevitably, I find this is more of within Scotland, I find this is more of a Glasgow thing than an Edinburgh thing. I think it's more of a West Coast than an East Coast thing. You attend an event in Glasgow, and I can almost guarantee the first question you'll be asked by anybody is, what is it you do? And actually, it's I'm getting the reaction I expected there. The first thing that anybody, what is it you do? And it's usually in that quite stressed way. And I just take a breath and I try and slow the conversation down. And I just have a chat with people. Have you travelled far this morning? How was your journey getting here this morning? Did you get parked okay? And the thing is, as humans, what is the thing that we love to talk about? We like to talk about ourselves. Yeah, you took the words out of my mouth there. We like to talk about ourselves. So I just have a chat with people, and it makes me come across as a person rather than as a business. And it helps the person I'm talking to relax because they're starting to relate to me as a human being. I ask them about themselves, and then I'll consciously, after a couple of minutes, I'll move the conversation on to, so tell me about your business. What is it that you do? And again, people love to talk about themselves and about their business. Now, my little trick for the what is it that you do scenario, because I've noticed a lot of people at networking events will do that, and I just turn it back round on itself. There's a little technique I was taught in sales a long time ago. Always answer a question with another question. Always answer a question. When you're asked a question, answer it back with another question. So usually when people say to me, oh, so what is it you do? I'll just kind of brush that aside and I'll gently say, well, actually, I've not met you before. I'd really like to know about what it is that you do. And then that just puts them at ease a little bit now because they're thinking, oh, you've asked me about me. I like talking about me. So they talk about themselves. Now, the thing is, I'm not just doing that for the sake of chit chat. This
Yeah.
is the second really important part of the sales process, which is
Mhm.
you have to make it all about the other person. If
Yeah.
you're the vendor and you're trying to, the person that you're talking to is a prospective sales lead, if this is somebody that you think may have an opportunity to make a purchase from you, you need to,
Mhm.
this is the most important part of the sales process. I teach a nine stage sales process.
Yes.
Part
Yeah. I'll come to that.
yeah, part two of it is all about finding out about the other person. Right up at
Yeah.
the front, it is the most important single part of the process. So I use what I call the high quality open questions: the who, what, where, why, whens,
Mhm.
and those are purposeful because they can't be answered with a yes or no.
Yeah.
People have to give you an explanation. How was your journey here this morning? Oh, right. I want to say no, but I can't say it. I have to enter into conversation. And all the
Mm.
time, with my open questions, I'm doing what I call qualifying the other person. I'm finding out, I'm researching what that person does, what's important to them in their business, what challenges, what changes are they trying to make in their business? Are they trying to grow? Are they at a staging point where actually there's capacity in the business and they're looking for help to expand? Is it that they're at a fairly early stage and they're looking to expand their customer base?
Mm.
Simply asking a few pointed who, what, why, where, how questions, I'm able to find that out. And the funny thing is, if you ask the right question, the
Yeah.
person that you're talking to will tell you everything that you need to know.
Yeah, that's my question. Yeah. So when they are like that, how do you interrupt and ask the qualifying question, or how do you fetch the information which you are looking for, like who, what, when, and
So it's about having a little catalog, having a little library of those questions up your sleeve that are ready. So when you meet
oh,
somebody new, how, you want to build a little bit of rapport first of all. You want to do it
yeah,
quickly. You don't want to spend a lot of time, but you want to build a bit of rapport, you're going to achieve that by asking them about themselves, by showing genuine interest in the other person. The
yes,
thing you must do is make it all about yourself.
yeah,
At this point, it's not about you, it's about the other person.
yeah,
And what that does psychologically is the other person is thinking, oh, Sudha's a really nice person. She's asking all about me. She's asking me how my journey was, and she's asking me how I traveled far. She's showing real interest in me. And
mm,
naturally,
mm,
warm people that do that.
yeah,
Once you've built a little bit of rapport with somebody, you're then in a
mm,
position that you can move into more of the pointed. You can move the conversation towards a business point. And I tend to do that by I'll ask the simple question. So tell me what it is that you do.
ah,
People will
okay,
then tell you what the business does. And then invariably, I'll then want to dig a bit further deeper. So it might be the case, perhaps when we met, Sudha, you might have said, oh, well, I work in tech and I help people with automation. Oh, that's interesting, Sudha. Tell me a little bit more. I'm not very tech savvy. What do you actually mean by you help people with automation?
mm,
I'm now giving you permission to tell me more about what you do.
yeah,
But
oh,
actually, what
interesting.
I'm doing is I'm researching you to find out, okay, where is there a
You did
common
ask
ground?
me these questions. That's what I'm thinking.
It's all becoming clear now, isn't it? Um, and it's the most important single part of the sales process is carrying out a really thorough qualification. Let me give you a real life example of this. When I used to work back in the hospitality industry, the last business that I was running before I set up on my own was a very grand country estate, and one of the opportunities was that we were turning it into a luxury wedding venue. Now,
Oh,
what we identified was that we had lots of competition in the area. This was in the East Midlands in England, near Nottingham. We had lots of
mhm,
competition. But by researching, we discovered that the competition actually weren't very good in controlling their sales process. It was
yeah,
that really impersonal, very traditional, what date, how many numbers, what menu do you want? So we
yeah,
turned it completely on its head. When you walked into my venue and, oh, I would like to know about your wedding packages, Oh, that's fantastic. That's wonderful. Have you just got engaged? Well, actually, yes, we have. That's why we're looking at wedding venues. Oh, congratulations. That's amazing. Tell me all about how they proposed. Oh, nobody's ever asked me that before. So the bride or the groom, whoever, would then start telling me about the engagement. Oh, and this happened, and we did it there, and I wasn't expecting my fiance to ask me. Oh, that's amazing. So I'm building rapport by asking them about the engagement process.
Yeah.
So then I would gently sit people down. I would get them some refreshments, glass of prosecco, cold drink, coffee, whatever, and then I would go in with a killer question. So I'm quite sure you've got your dream wedding all mapped out in your head. You've probably been thinking about it for years. So tell me all about it.
Do you ask that to a bride or the groom?
I would just ask that directly. Nobody ever turned around to me and said, I don't know. Without fail, everybody always said to me, yeah, exactly. I've been thinking about it for years. I want to do this, and I want to do this, and I want to do that. Fantastic. I would let them talk, and I would just listen. And then when they dried up a bit, I would just ask another question. Great. So you've given me a good idea of what you want your wedding to be like. Who are the people that are going to be coming? Oh, well, I've got a big family and blah, 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 blah. And off they go, and they would tell me everything else again. And then I would just have a series of quite purposeful questions. Tell me what you want your wedding to look like. How do you want your guests to feel when they're there? What's the 3 most important things to you about your event? They would tell me everything that I needed to know. And not once would I have to go into sales mode to go, oh, look at this, and we do that. And it just wasn't necessary. And overwhelmingly, I mean, we were very successful in growing the volume and the value of weddings in that venue. And I used to then go back, when people booked with us, I would ask the question, can I be cheeky and ask, why did you choose us over all the competition? And overwhelmingly, they would come back and say, because you took an interest in us as people. When we went to other places, we were just another couple getting married. When we came here, you actually wanted to know about us. Now, whether you're selling weddings, whether you're a manufacturer and you make widgets and wackets, if you're a tech expert and you're selling technical solutions, the principles are all the same. So tell me about your business, help me understand what you're looking to achieve. Now, particularly in the business-to-business world, there's really only 2 reasons that business sales happen. People will buy from you if you supply the raw materials that they need to process and manufacture whatever it is that they produce. The main other reason that business-to-business sales happen is because I, as a business, have a problem. I'm trying to achieve something, and I've got a problem, I've got a blockage, I've got an obstacle. And I want to talk to you as a vendor because I believe you might have the solution that will help me to achieve my objective. That makes sense. People in the business one, the business-to-business world, sales aren't achieved because of emotional reasons. Businesses don't spend money on things just because they fancy a shiny new car. In the consumer world, it's very different. In the retail consumer world, sales are very often driven by emotions and ego and wanting to appeal to our inner emotions. In the business-to-business world, it's much more rational. I want to grow my business. I've got a problem in doing it. I want to introduce a new product line, but I've got a problem in achieving that. I'm looking to you as the supplier to provide me with the solution.
Yeah. So does that apply to the coaching services as well? Like there are many, my audience are speakers, authors, coaches, and consultants. They sell for one of the viewer who is here. She wants to sell her time management online course and also her consultancy, and she also does the productivity things in that. So she would like to sell that to the corporates. So she should be giving them what their problems are when she does the discovery call or something. What is their problem? Why do they want to bring an expert in to talk about time management, right? In that case.
Exactly. Now, if if that person's having a discovery call with a sales lead,
Yeah.
there will have more than likely been some form of inquiry. There's been some conversation up front where the
Yeah.
person's asked for a discovery call, or you've met at a networking event and someone said, oh, you help people with time management problems. I'd like to have a chat. Now, straight away, that is what I call a buying signal. Someone
Ah.
says to you, tell me more about what it is you do. That's
Mm-hmm.
a buying signal. They're showing interest. So your
Ah.
response to that should be, okay, I now want to understand why you're interested.
Yes. Okay. I'm just
Okay.
taking the note of that.
Please, yeah, please do. Now, you'll probably, as coaches, as mentors, as advisors, it's very much the field I operate in as well.
Yeah.
The people, my coaching clients, don't come
Yeah.
to me. Hey, they come to me because Barry Clark's a great guy. Of course they do.
Yeah.
That's
Uh-huh.
not reality. They come to me because they've got a problem and they believe that I've got the solution to that problem.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
So what we need to do, when somebody gives you that buying signal, Sudha, I'd
Mm.
like to know more about this automated technology to engage with your clients online. That's a
Okay.
buying signal. They've got an interest in what it is that you provide.
Yeah.
They must have thought in there of maybe this automated technology is the answer to me getting more sales leads.
Yeah. Ah.
Your challenge as the salesperson, your challenge is then to go, oh, I recognize that as a buying signal. You're showing some
Yeah.
interest. It might
Yeah.
only be a fleeting interest, but they're
Yeah.
showing some interest in what it is that you provide. Your challenge now is to understand, right, what is that level of interest? What is the problem that they're trying to overcome?
Yeah.
Well, I would be using questions such as, okay, really interesting that you've asked me about that. Just help me understand more about your business. Why would that be applicable to your business?
Mm.
And you'll notice that I use that little word phrase, help me understand. Um, people that know me well get bored of hearing me say that. It's a little word phrase that I use a lot just to soften the conversation. It sounds
Yeah.
less like an interrogation then. It's,
Yeah.
help me understand why you're interested in this.
Yeah.
Ask the
I
right
want to.
question.
I really want to increase the productivity of my team. In this case, time management case, I would say if
Okay.
I am the procurement person who's procuring that, I would say, oh, my team. I think they've got lots of potential, but I don't think they are getting more done. So one of the challenges which we heard is the team not able to manage their time properly because they're everywhere.
Okay, that's really interesting, Sudha. Now, it would be really helpful for me to understand, how does that show itself in your business?
Because we are not able to produce more things which we could do, which we've got potential to do, and our operations can handle that as well, we are losing sales and revenue because of that.
Right. Okay, that's really interesting. So, can I ask a cheeky question? Could you
Yeah.
share with me how much is that impacting upon the productivity in the business?
I think we can increase once we get this time management thing worked out, I think we can increase around about 25%, if not more.
Okay, so there's as much as 25% excess capacity in your
Yes.
production, I believe.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh,
We do
that.
have. I think our manufacturing unit can handle that, and even our team can handle that many people once we know that. Because what we've understood is our team is spending quite a lot of time qualifying, so we want that reduced, and we want other process to be streamlined as well. So I think this is the good solution.
Right. So, from what you're telling me, if I can just summarize for a second, it sounds as though you've identified that there's some inefficiencies within your front end processing.
Yes.
You've also identified that there's quite significant excess capacity that's not being utilized at the moment. You shared with me the figure of 25%. if we could, if we could move that productivity gap, even 15 to 20% increase in the productivity, what impact would that have on your results?
We would have we can have more satisfied. We can satisfy our bosses by having the increased revenue or profits in a way, so that we can give more bonuses to the sales team if they're doing it right.
No, that's really interesting. Even if you managed a 20% increase in productivity, what's the financial value of that to you?
I think it would be around about 100K.
100K.
Yeah.
Fantastic. That would make a real difference to this year's results for you, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it would. It would also increase the morale of our team that we've increased that productivity. What I keep repeatedly or repeatedly hearing from the team is that they don't want to just look at the clock all the time, and they think that is what time management is, which I don't agree with. So how do you think your product could do better?
That's really interesting that you mentioned the team's apprehensive about focusing on their time efficiency. What would it mean to them, do you think, then, if we could show them processes by which they may simply use their time more efficiently and overcome that fear of trying to do more with less? What impact would that have for you?
I think the team would be a lot more happier instead of them thinking that we are pushing something in their throat by giving this coaching.
That's really interesting, Sudha. That sounds to me as though we've got an opportunity here, not only to show you how that we can significantly increase the profitability of your operation, but actually, as well as doing that, we can also help to improve the engagement of your team. So if I could show you a process that would achieve both of those objectives, and you've already told me that would be worth approximately an additional 100K profit for you this year, it would be really valuable for you, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it would be. It all comes to how much it's going to cost as well, to be frank with.
All right, of course. At the end of the day, we'll work out numbers and we'll work out a package that's going to work well for you. What I can share with you is, actually, you know what? Let me be really cheeky and upfront about this, Sudha. You've qualified that for me as 100K profit growth opportunity. What would you actually feel comfortable investing to achieve 100,000 increase in your profitability?
Actually, we are speaking to a few vendors just like you to come up with the number so that I can go and convince my finance team to give me whether a go with one of the vendors.
Sure. No, I appreciate that. What would be really helpful for me to understand is what's your goal in terms of return on investment? Are you looking at 10 to 1? Are you looking at 8 to 1? Are you looking at 12 to 1? It'd be really helpful to understand kind of your expectation level.
Let me be cheeky and say 20 to 1. Would that be too cheeky for me to say that?
That's a fairly stretching target there, but so we're basically looking at a 5 to 1 growth in terms of your investment to the profitability to growth. Let's have a look and see how we can achieve that for you.
Yeah.
So if you think about that conversation we've just had, Sudha, I've not pitched you at any point whatsoever.
Yeah.
I've not gone into that elevator pitch. Let me tell you all about what we do.
Yeah.
What I've learned from you, though, is that you've got a productivity issue within your business, that you've already identified excess capacity. You've told me that your team are apprehensive that they're going to be asked to do more with less. They're just going to be told to work harder, faster, and there's an apprehension there. So I've now identified that on a time management program, we can increase your efficiency. We can show you and your team how to use the same time commodity, but in a much more efficient and productive way. I've also identified qualified that it's important that we do that in a way that builds engagement rather than hindering engagement with your team. And I've qualified you in terms of investment to outcome level. So I
Yeah.
now know everything that I need to know in order to present to you a package.
Yeah.
And we did that in the space of about 2 minutes.
Yeah, I know. This is the conversation I go, but I miss most of the buying signals.
Right.
I just talk about it most of the time, instead of listening to what they're trying to say. So
Okay.
in this process, if I ask a leading question, for example, if I knew what I want from a vendor who is selling the time management, because I've had this issue come again and again in my company, and I could relate it to you better. Not that I'm selling time management in any way or form, but I was asking for a friend of mine. So in a situation like mine, they don't know. All they know is I want to automate. They cannot articulate what would be their what would make it easier for them. Some of them, they know, oh, I want a website design which is working well and creating, or I want this. And on a high level, how do you qualify them? Do you follow with a question so that they can come back with the answer? How do you qualify them then?
Okay. you need to help people down the path. And
Yeah,
it's the thing that it's about asking a series of questions. It's about asking maybe 3, 4, 5 questions, which just help lead the person down the path to give you
yeah,
all of the information that you need to know. Now,
yeah,
as the vendor, we've got a product and service. We know what our product and service can achieve for people. So our
yeah.
challenge is that with our prospects, with our sales leads, we've got to map them to our product. Is our product genuinely going to help them?
Mm.
And you're going to get a yes or no answer to that. And I would always advocate this. This is where my approach differs from quite a number of sales trainers.
Yeah,
I'm all about helping companies, helping vendors, the salespeople, match yourself with the people who genuinely need and want your product.
yeah,
Because if you're trying to force a sale on somebody and the product isn't going to deliver what they're looking for,
yeah,
if somebody wants to buy apples and we're selling pears, there really is no point in selling your pears, because you're going to have a disappointed, disgruntled customer. They
yeah,
might make a sale from you once, but they'll never come back for a repeat sale because you
yeah,
made promises you couldn't deliver.
yeah.
So
So,
part of the qualification process, it's really important to identify, am I actually talking to the right person? Is my product the answer to the problem that you've got?
yes.
Okay. Now, when you're able to tick that box, okay, so tell me the difficulty you're having. Tell me what it is that you want to achieve, and that in itself might take 2 or 3 questions for you to really understand what the problem is, what's the pain point, what's the difficulty, the pain that's causing, and what's the outcome that the prospect is looking for. Once you understand those things, your task to present is simply to show how your product and service is the answer to the problem. Show how your
Mm.
product is going to deliver the outcome that your prospect is looking for.
Yeah,
And if your product or service isn't going to deliver what they're looking for, you're talking to the wrong person.
yeah, yeah,
Where a lot of small business people fall into the trap of becoming really overly persistent and overly salesy is that the product isn't the answer to the problem that the customer has got, but they're still desperate for the sale. I don't want to let this customer go. If you want to buy apples, there's no point in you looking at oranges or pears. It's apples that you want. There will be
mm.
lots of other people out there who are looking for your product because it's the solution to the problem that they're experiencing.
Yeah. You're wasting the time on the wrong people, and also adding frustration up. So there are people who come out. This is one thing which I hate, and I would rather not do it. Hopefully I'm not doing it. Is that I am the solution to the problem you have, even before they even
Yeah.
know what the problem I have in detail. So what do you tell Like, what should you be doing with these people?
Okay, right. So you know that you've got the solution to their problem, but they don't realize yet that your product is the solution to
Yeah,
the problem. Yeah.
yeah,
Okay. What I often find here, I mean, as small business people, we've got a product, we've invested time, emotion, resource in developing our product. We get really passionate about it, and we know
yeah,
how fantastic it is. We know how brilliant it is,
yeah.
but you get so frustrated when other people just don't get it.
Yes,
This is a solution. So again, this comes back to the qualification process. It's about really getting that individual to share with you what's the
yeah,
problem that they're having. So, great, I tell you the problem that I've got. Let's use the time management example again. I know that my sales team are really inefficient. We've got a huge number of leads coming into the business, but we're not converting that into contracted business. And I know that my production facility could be doing 20-30% more than it is. So
yeah,
there's a disconnect there. Great. So I now know what the problem is. They're not converting enough sales, and they've got the excess capacity to be delivering much, much more. So I know what the problem is, and I know
yeah,
what the ultimate solution is. And I
hmm,
know that product and service will join that up. I need
yeah,
to help them understand it. So I'm now going to move the qualification questions in a slightly different direction. So now this is where some people get a little bit uncomfortable with the process, but it's really important. I need that potential customer to feel
yeah.
the pain of doing nothing. Because
Ah,
one of two things is going to happen here. I'm going to sell the solution to the customer,
yeah,
and they're going to overcome their problems, and they're going to achieve the goal that they want. That's
yeah,
option one. The other thing that's going to happen is the customer is going to sell me on the fact that they're not going to buy.
yeah. That happens a lot.
Yeah, that's the two outcomes. And the thing here is we've not qualified enough. So we understand what the problem is. Now we really need to get that potential customer to
Yeah,
understand what is the pain of not putting the solution in place. So that's where I'd be asking the kind of questions of, so you're not converting enough inquiries into contracted sales. Tell me what impact that's having on your results. And you know what?
uh,
Most people will tell you. I've never had, in all my 30 years, I've never had somebody turn around to me when I asked that question. Nobody has ever said to me, mind your own business.
mm.
They may not tell you everything, but they'll share it with you.
Can
Oh,
you
you know,
repeat the question, please? What is the
the
question you
question would,
asked?
the question would be, and the thing is to put these questions into your own words, but the question
Yeah,
would be, so you're telling me that you've got lots of inquiries coming in, but at the moment you're struggling to convert them into contracted business.
yeah,
What impact is that having on your results?
yeah,
Or now they might be quite vague with you at this, but well, I know that we're missing sales.
yeah,
Okay, right. It's great that you recognize that you're missing sales opportunities. How many sales do you think you're missing? So I'm
mm.
gently leading them down the path to qualifying. How many sales are you missing? Oh, we're
Yeah,
getting up. I don't know. I don't know. Well, that's okay. Let me try and help you because it's important. It's really helpful for me to understand the bigger picture. How many inquiries in a week do you have coming in? Oh, well, I've got 100. Great. How many of those 100 inquiries are you converting into contracted business? I don't really know. So there's problem number one. We don't actually know what the conversions are. So
yeah,
solution number one is I'm going to help them with their analytics to understand you might actually only be converting one of those 100 inquiries into a sale. You're
yeah.
missing 99 opportunities. And my objective here is to start getting them to really feel the pain of doing nothing.
Yeah, that's why they're giving this evasive answer of I don't know.
Yeah. And the worst outcome for the customer is
Yeah,
that they do nothing. If they do nothing, nothing's going to change. You know, if you always do what you've always done, you'll always get what you've always got.
Yeah.
So if they don't change their processes, if they don't take any advice on board, nothing's going to change. So if we take your example earlier on, you were actually very generous and you qualified me straight away that you'd identified there was 25% excess capacity.
Yeah.
And you might notice I then took you down the road of trying to get a figure. What would even 20% of it? So I'm not going for the whole thing. You've told me 25% excess. Okay, I'm not going to set myself up to fail here. If I just got you 15 or 20% more, how much more profit would that generate you? Again, you were quite generous. Oh, 100,000. Brilliant. So I now know you've got the opportunity to gain 100,000 in profit. Now, this is the really important thing. At no time am I going to tell, I'm not going to propose to you on price. Now that I know you've told me that there's potential to gain 100,000 extra profit just by improving your efficiency, I'm now going to show you how we deliver that 100,000 profit. And then all I'm going to do is ask you to give me a bit of that back. So I'm always positioning the proposition on value. What is the value it's going to deliver to you? It's never about the price. It's about the value you're going to deliver. And the time management, the efficiency question is actually a really good example. And it's one that I come across in my coaching business a lot of the time. People will say to me, I'm just not efficient at converting inquiries into sales. I know that we could be producing a lot more. So I just then qualify them in, right, so if we increased your productivity by 10%, what would that mean to you? Oh, and I get them to give me a figure. Great. So 10% would mean that if we increased your efficiency by 20%, what would that mean? Again, I get them to share me the figures. And then straight away, you know, as a business leader, I would generally always work on a 10-to-1 return on investment basis. If I spent £100, I expected £1,000 value back for it. That's generally the path that I will lead a customer down then, that I will demonstrate. Once I've got that figure, so you gave me £100,000 as the target efficiency increase. And that immediately in my head then gets me thinking, if I ask them for 10% of that as a fee for delivering that project, that's putting a £10,000 value to me of that sale. But actually, the proposition I'm giving to the customer is, I'm only going to charge you 10% for delivering you £100,000 extra profit. 10-to-1 sounds like a pretty good return to me.
Yeah, I challenged you with a 21, which is I am wanting it for free.
Of course you do. Of course you do. And that's where you then move. At the latter stages, you can move into negotiation phase, close into what's going to work for the client, what's going to work for you as the supplier. And the imperative there is to get a win-win situation. But we always talk about the value that you're delivering. We never talk about what it's going to cost. It's a subtle difference, but it's a really important one.
Yeah, that's great. Oh, thank you very much. Really, this was the role playing was not intended, but one of the viewer was I know her business because I'm helping her with that. And so I know what it is, how we can lead this, because she was not very keen on charging more.
Well, if for our viewers today, if you take nothing else away from this interview, the qualification is the most important part of the sales process. And the thing is, it's the step that most people skip. They make it all about themselves. They make it all about the product. No, stop doing that. What you need to do, you need to spend your time in qualifying your customer to understand what's the problem they've got, what's the pain that they're feeling, what's the impact of that problem, and try as hard as possible to get them to actually quantify that into pounds and pence, dollars and cents, whatever currency you're in. Get them to quantify that, because you've then got a value to work with. That's the
Yeah.
beauty of it. And it's the qualification is the most important part. The ironic thing is, Sudha, most people come to me and say, I really struggle with closing sales. You know, I can talk to people and I can pitch people, but I struggle to close the sale.
Mm-hmm.
The reason they're struggling to close the sale is because they haven't done enough qualification at the beginning. It all comes back to the qualification. That's why qualifying is the most singularly important part of the process. The more time you spend qualifying, the easier it is to handle the objections and then close the sale at the end. Because actually, all you're doing is showing how your product is the answer to the problem that your customer has got.
Okay, this one is the last question. We've been here for 50 minutes now.
That's
This
when you're having
is, oh yeah, we are. I'm learning a lot. So when do you, this is one of the question which many would have, especially when as a speaker, professional speaker, we get paid by some of the organization. Some we've got to sell our products, and then that's how we get paid as well. In all sense, when speaker goes in and when they say, oh, I've got this free 1 week or 3 master classes, or I've got 60-minute free session or 30-minute free session. So when do they stop? I've got this big problem. I say 30-minute discovery call, and that goes on for 2 hours because I talk a lot.
right.
So thanks,
Okay.
Alex. Yeah. So when do you stop
when do
free?
you, right. Couple of things I would share with you here, a couple of techniques that I use. First thing is that balance between speaking for free, speaking at paid events. And the valuable lesson I was taught in that respect is that if somebody's asking me to give my time for free, which I'm quite happy to do, I will always work on the basis of if you're paying me to speak at an event, I will do exactly that. I will come and I will speak at the event, and I won't particularly use that as a sales opportunity. People who ask me to speak for no fee, I work very, very simply on the understanding of I will happily speak for you and I'll present my expertise, and I will include an offer at the end of that because you're asking me to give freely of my time. So I work very much on that basis. You know, if I've got a book, if I've got an offer, if I've got a podcast, whatever, I will mention the book, the podcast, whatever it might be, at the end of my presentation. In terms of what to talk about, a really valuable lesson I was taught by a good friend was think about the what, the why, and the how of your expertise, of your knowledge. And when I'm presenting, I'll always talk about the what and the why, what it is I do, why it's important to you. When it comes to how do you do it, what's the point that you pay me? So I'll share with you the what and the why. When you want to know the how do I do it, how do I put that into practice, that I charge you a fee and I share the really valuable information.
Yeah.
And in terms of when do you stop, I think, you know, you need to, we all do the complimentary discovery call, the initial conversation. It's an important part of the process. You need to give your customer the confidence that if they're going to go ahead and engage you and pay for your advice, you've got to give them the confidence that they're investing in the right solution. If it's a 30-minute discovery call, it should be 30, 40 minutes. And I would always say, not 2 hours. No, not 2 hours. If you're giving away 2 hours, Sudha, naughty. No, stop it. You need to stop it. You're giving away far too much value and you're underselling yourself. Now, it's a really important message, this actually, because if you don't value the advice that you're giving, if you don't value it enough to say, now's the point when, you know, I'm happy to carry the conversation on, but it now becomes a chargeable conversation. How do you expect the customer to value it and pay you for it if you're happy just to give it away?
Yeah.
So whatever you have to demonstrate the value in the advice, in the guidance that you're giving. And if you just give it all away for free, how do you expect the customer to pay you for it? They won't value it for you. Now,
Yeah.
a technique that I have used, and there's a couple of different techniques that you can use. I tend to offer, I offer a 30-minute initial conversation. I tend to call it just a virtual coffee chat, but you have to bring your own coffee. That's the only downside. So I offer people a 30-minute virtual coffee chat. 20 minutes of that, me qualifying them, understanding what the problem is. I let them do most of the talking, and I'll make sure in the final 10 minutes that I give some information back. I give them some value back as a token respect of the time that they've given me. But really, all I'm doing there is just giving them a little bit of what and why, because I want them to come back and invest in for the how.
Yeah.
So when it gets to kind of 30, 35, 40 minutes, I will be subtly, but quite purposefully, I'll draw the conversation to an end. And I will ask the question, how have you found this advice so far? How will that, what we've spoken about, how will that help you to move forward? And what I want the person to say is, well, that's really useful, that's great, but I could do with knowing so much more. Fantastic. You'd like to do more? Let me show you how we can make that happen. So I'll always ask the question at the end of that discovery call, would you like to carry the conversation on?
Yeah.
To which invariably the answer is yes. Great. Let me show you how we can make that happen. And I'll have then a next level product. So I'll tend to do my sales funnel for coaching work is I do a 30-minute discovery, my virtual coffee chat. The next offer is that I do a 90-minute deep dive session. That's paid for.
Yeah.
So my 90-minute deep dive goes out at £99 plus VAT.
Yeah.
So it's a taster. Most people will then go, most people will think 99 quid. Yeah, that's not a big ask.
Yeah.
They'll book a 90-minute session with me. And at the end of the 90-minute, we'll then have the conversation of, you'd like more? Actually, yeah, this is really useful. This is really good advice. Okay, let me show you how coaching programs work. And then I've got a couple of options in terms of how they can engage with me on longer term coaching.
Yeah.
That's the process that I use bringing my coaching clients on board.
Interesting. So thank you very much. Really, it was very useful time. 1 hour, 1 hour and 4 minutes. Well, we had 4 before, but it was a great point of like how to move people from not giving more free things available. But I don't. This is what you. The one of the takeaway which I'm going to take, there's been so many takeaways of when is the, what is that question? That is a buying question. I didn't identify the buying question, and I always qualifying, and I do qualify, but I don't qualify like what you said. So I've got to change my qualifying process. So the last one is how to move them from the virtual coffee chat minus discovery session, how to move from discovery session into your at least 1 hour or 2 hours of your coaching so that they get familiarized with whether you can work with them. That is what I am not doing. So I think that is one thing which I am going to take away, as because most of my packages are high ticket value product. So this qualification would help me move them. I justify because when they buy my high ticket value, I can almost work it out this 2 hours, which is wrong.
Sounds like you need something in the middle, Sudha. Go from the discovery call, a medium step, to then the big ticket item. To go straight from discovery call to big ticket item, that's a big ask. It's a big to ask somebody to take.
And I think that's where I am doing wrong.
Yeah. If you find something in the middle, which is chargeable and it's worthwhile to you, and it's delivering value to the customer, but it's value to you as well as the supplier, I think that'll really help you.
Yeah, I can even say to them that, when you take that big ticket value, I'll take this amount, whatever you paid for this session off.
Absolutely. Yep. Yep.
That's one of the way to move them from where they are to what I want them to be as well.
Yep.
Interesting. Thank you very much. This is an eye-opening conversation. Really appreciate that. And thank you for your time. And I will take all your links and put it in on the Facebook and also on the LinkedIn so that people can approach you if they are in need of any of your. I am going to work with you, but might not be immediately, but I would like to, because I do need to work on my certain qualifying things, which I'm not doing it properly.
Um, everyone watching this, whether it's live or if they're watching in replay, you're very, very welcome to contact me and have a conversation. My offer of a 30-minute virtual coffee chat is extended to everyone. If you're contacting me to talk about a virtual coffee chat, if they can just reference Sudha's chat, so that I know that where that lead has come from. But I extend that offer to everyone and be very, very welcome.
Yeah, and another thing is you have some sessions which you are helping during this COVID-19 thing. So talk to us about that, and I'll finish it as soon as. I'm sorry, I want to give the value to you as well for the time you've spent and shared your knowledge.
Opportunity, Sudha. Yeah. With the COVID-19 situation at the moment, historically, a lot of my delivery has been in small focus workshops here in the Glasgow area. Obviously, that is no longer applicable for the foreseeable future. So I've taken that content online with a number of pre-recorded webinars. They're all about 45, 50 minutes in duration. The nine-step sales process that I've described is broken down into 3 separate webinars. So there's one on the introduction to the sales process, focuses very much on the qualification. A lot of what we've been talking about today goes into more detail. There's then a second webinar which focuses very much on how to recognize those buying signals and how to deal with a conversation when your customer says, I need to go and ask someone else, I want to think about it. Because that's not the end of the conversation. I share techniques with you there. And then the final one is the real clincher. It's the closing and negotiating the deal. There's 3 separate webinars on those. Great value for money. They're low cost. You can do them at your own pace and your own time. And again, anyone drops me a message through LinkedIn, Facebook Messenger, then I can share more information about those.
Yeah, I do have all your links from the speaker forum, which I've got, so that would be easier for me to just put those links in. And please thank you very much for your time. I'm going to take you off the screen so that I can finish it off, and then we can have a chat once I end the broadcast. Thank you very much. Or if you've got something else to do, you can talk as well. Thank you.
Great.
That was interesting and stimulating conversation. I understand. Once you know what the mistakes you're doing, finding solutions for those mistakes are a lot easier. That is how I work. That's how I learn as well. And I'm sure many of you have got the same thing. Identifying the problem is the biggest problem which we all have. Once we know what mistakes we are doing, we know what the solutions are going to be, because we are clever, aren't we? So at least we've got experts like Barry who can point out where are we going wrong. So that is the most important of this. The role playing, I think that's why we went over and above our usual time. The role playing was an interesting way to take a case and see how we can lead another person to give us what we want in doing things. And one of the things, I've got 3 takeaways: qualify, have a middle product, and also how you're going to lead them further for other sales as well. So please, if you want to get in touch with Barry, please do that. If you want to get in touch with me, please do that as well. I will put all the Barry's link on LinkedIn, YouTube, and also on Facebook. And Periscope, I have not figured out how to do that yet, but I will do that there as well. If you're watching replay, hashtag replay. If you've not signed up to any of my channels, just rewind back. You will get all my channel details. Please do subscribe to my channel or follow me. I do regular lives talking about things which I love most of the time. Thank you very much and have a great day. Stay home, stay happy, stay active, and also stay healthy. Bye for now.